everyone, happy Fit to Flatter Friday. I can't believe we waited this long to get here and now the day has finally came. I'm going to be honest with you, it has taken me all day to get some sound onto this, and then just as I got it correct, the battery went. So we are here, fingers crossed. I'm really excited, I am really nervous. It's a new thing, but let's just go for it and see what happens. I know I'm amongst friends, so thank you for that. I'm going to go through it quickly because one, I don't want anything to happen to the camera, and also I know you want to get on with it, so I'll keep the talking as short as possible. So the first thing we wanted to talk about was the measurement chart, and you should all have one printed off. I've got one here and I would just like to talk through it with you briefly. Now don't be overwhelmed by this. Some of you have said there's a lot of measurements to take. There isn't. This is just a measurement chart I put together that I use every day with clients. And most of my clients are wearing big wedding dresses, so I need more information. Really all you need to take is measurements that are relevant to the garment that you're going to make. And our garments, Simplicity 1277, is really quite easy. It fits, it's a semi-fitted dress, so you keep hearing me say about bust, waist and hips, but actually it's an A-line. So in the hip area we're relaxed a bit, we've got a little bit of room. We need good shoulders, so we'll come to that later. It'd be nice to fit across the back and around the bust, in the sleeves, but all the rest of this is irrelevant. So let's start with the bust, waist and hips. That's a definite with most garments, and you need that because you need to be talking the same language as the pattern that you're going to use. So quite quickly, here's a tape measure. I love these quilting tape measures, they're much longer than usual, and I just love it. It's great for everything. So I'm going to take my bust measurement around my fullest part of my bust, which is here, and I'm going to do that with my finger inside or my thumb, so it's got a little bit of movement. I'm doing it over a dress. I don't have to be here in some skin tight leotard as they used to do in the old days. Definitely you're lucky today I'm not just stood here in my underwear, although your underwear is important. I'm wearing what I would usually wear every day with my everyday wardrobe. That's because, to be blunt, I want everything to be sitting in all the right places. There's no point in measuring if things aren't fitting correctly. So underwear good, but what you've got on top, as long as you use your imagination, this is a loose dress, and I need to take that into consideration. But it's not big and it's not full, it's not too thick. So when I go from my measurement to the pattern, I know I've got a little bit of extra room to play with. So the bust measurement is in line with your bra strap. So not too low because that's going to add inches, not too under your arms because it's probably going to be too tight or too small, and the same, not too tight around your actual bust. So finger in there, bit of movement, and I'm checking my measurement, and it is, dare I tell you, 34 inches. So I'm going to note that down. My next measurement is my waist. Now your waist is really important, and it's what you see your waist to be, or your client's waist. Quite often I just take the cup of my hand and sit it on your waistline. We could do it blindly, you kind of go there automatically. So ask your clients, or for you, have a good feel and see where that's comfortable for you. But it's quite obvious on me because that's where I go in, but there's different figure shapes. People can be straight up and down. That's still a gorgeous figure shape, but the person who is that will know where their waist feels comfortable for them. Kind of in line with your belly button really, and obviously if it's a client you can't really see where that is, so I ask them to put their hands on their waist. Now a good tip is to take a length of ribbon or even some elastic. Elastic's good because it kind of automatically wants to roll into that area. So I'm just going to take a length of this and tie it around my middle. So for two reasons I'm doing this. One, it's telling me where my waist is. It automatically wants to go there. But also it's giving me a reference point of everything above it and below it. So there's my waist. I'm going to take that measurement and I'm going to note that down too. This is all for the purpose of us checking what size pattern we are going to be. So my waist on a good day, let's hope, I can't see because of my boobs, 26, it's grown today already, 27, yeah, I lied a bit there, so 27. Okay, now I need to take the measurement of my hips. Now this is really important that we're talking the same language as that pattern. And I know the pattern takes their measurements 9 inches below their waist. They actually write that on there. They didn't used to in the old days, but now there's more info to help us. So from this piece of ribbon, wherever that may be, we want to be 9 inches below. Now you can see quite obviously, I hope, if you hadn't got the ribbon, one day I might be measuring from here and another day I might think my waist is an inch higher. So everything starts to move around, and the knock-on effect by the time we get to the finished dress, it could all start going a little bit wrong. So we might as well start off great, and by the time we get there, each step will take us nearer to perfection. So 9 inches below my waist, and that is secret. Shall I tell you? I'll tell you, then I'll have to kill you. 36 inches. 36 inches, correct. Okay, now I have 3 measurements, and with those 3 measurements I'm going to go to my pattern and check what they recommend my pattern size is. Excuse me, I'm going to need my glasses. Right, my bust is 34. They have 34 on here, which is great. It's a size 12. My waist is 27, and their waist for the 12 is 26 and a half, so really close. And their hips is 36, my hips 36. So that's kind of telling me I'm just about a perfect size 12. So that's what pattern size I would buy. If yours is a variation, you know, between the two, try and work out or have estimates which you are nearest to. For example, if you are 2 out of 3 sizes, I'm thinking I'd go for the one that's got the 2, if that makes sense. So if you've got 3 measurements and 2 of them fit into the category, I'm kind of thinking like that. But when we get to the pattern, we'll have more information. Unfortunately, when you're buying the pattern, you're not equipped with all of that. And I know what's going to happen next because I've made this dress up a few times. So, in my head, clearly size 12. So we've said again, size 12 bust, size 12 bust is 34. I'm 34. I go to my pattern, size 12 bust, actual measurement, this is the measurement of what you're really going to cut out, is 37. Now that's 3 inches bigger than me. Is that enough? Is that too much? Only you know. How do you like to wear your clothes? Now I know I'm only 5'1½". I'm confessing to a lot of things tonight. But I'm 5'1½". I'm short. I've got tiny shoulders. The more I've got round here, fabric-wise, the more it's quite aging, really. I kind of start to look a bit bulky, and it looks a bit mumsy. So I'm thinking, right, 3 inches. That's a lot. What does the 10 say? What does the smaller say? It says 35.5. That's still 1.5 inches that I've got to play with on top of my measurement. I kind of don't mind that, but I'm not 100% sure. Let's check the rest. Now this particular pattern, and a lot don't, have waist measurements on there, but do exactly what I've just said to you, but you're going to have to measure it yourself. You're not going to be able to read it on there. But what they have got on here is the hip measurements. I'm going to do exactly the same as what we've just said. So my hip measurement is 36. I'm kind of now looking at the 10 because there's a hint there that the 10 might work. So looking at the 10, I'm a 36 for real. And on here, a 10 is 38, 2 inches extra. I'm thinking 10. Now, in reality, because, oh, sorry, let me just tell you, the 12 is 39 and a half. I'm 36. That's too much. That is going to look big on me. Although, they know what they're talking about. They've done that for a reason. But they don't know me and know that I'm only 5'1.5". If I was 6 foot tall, that's plenty of room. I'm going to look sleek and chic. But for me, I'm going to look short, dumpy, and not good. So, but looking at the 10 with 38 and 2 inches extra, that's pretty good. Now remember, I've made this pattern already. So when I cut out the 10 and made it up, it was still too big. So I'm convinced that I now know that's exactly what I should have done, is cut out the 10. But that's why you make the 12. When in doubt, you make a calico up. You can just grab it. As long as it's big enough for you to get into, then you just stand and analyse it in front of a mirror. You can't go wrong. But I can't stress enough, it's about what this says, the actual pattern pieces, rather than what the envelope says. But you need to know what the envelope says to get into that envelope to start with. And I kind of explained that when I did the Fit to Flatter journey, but I'm now telling you as if we're talking to each other, and so hopefully it makes more sense. More experienced of you guys will understand that already. You know that. It's for people starting out with less experience that keep coming up against the same wall and thinking, what am I doing wrong? It says on the envelope I'm a size whatever. You cut out the pieces and you're not. It's clearly out. So be logical, be confident that we are all telling you, we all think the same, that there's more to it than just what it says size wise. And in all fairness, that those designers that have made that are doing it for the mass. All of us, they're getting all shapes and sizes, all different ages, all different choices. You'll talk to one person who likes it one way, another. So we're lucky we can get patterns. Where would we be without them? So let's just use it as that. We've been given something that's going to help us to get it around our body. Hope that makes sense. So the next stage is, I just like to check the back. I don't want to, I'm really small across the back, and some people might be much bigger. But if you're much bigger and we don't check it, although your bust is right, you may go out here and not get your calico on, then we can't read it properly. So I would check your shoulders. Okay, so I'm going back to this. You can do it easy enough on yourself. Feel your shoulder bone at the end. If you've got a friend, perfect. But if you haven't, because we tend to want to pick up our sewing when we feel like it, and there's not always someone there. But we just have to find ways of doing it on our own. Now, I can feel shoulder to shoulder and guarantee, I mean, that's 14. That is small for shoulders. And that's what I'm used to. So I can now go to my pattern on a size 10 and just check what their shoulders are. And if I fit into there, or even if it's a bit bigger, I'm still going to cut out the 10. Because I can alter it when I get to calico stage. The other measurement, but I'm not going to go from a 10 shoulder to a 10 bust and go massively up to a 16 across my mid back. So I'm kind of happy to stick with that, but it's always good to check your mid back just in case there is a variation. And that I would find impossible to do. but I've always got something in the wardrobe. Maybe I made it, or maybe I didn't, or something I love wearing. Check that. Use what you have. Go to something that's there available and use that as your guideline. A perfect example for that is dress length. I know when I've got a dress length that's just right, always feel good, goes with certain boots or shoes, and I measure that every time, and that's what I'm going to go to with my commercial pattern and use it to start with. If in doubt, add an inch or two, you can take it up, but it's a good place to use as a reference. Okay, having spoken about length, you can take your length at this stage to check. I kind of just do them longer and play around in the mirror when I'm in calico stage. Same with sleeves, but one measurement I would take, I've got weenie arms for some reason. It's probably because they're attached to my weenie shoulders, but we might have larger arms, so you want to be able to get into this calico. That's the whole point of this. As long as it's big enough, not massive, because it's like, where do you start? But we want it bigger than us so we can get on it, look at it, and start pinning it around our body. Before you know it, one of the things I love is when I have clients, they stand in front of the mirror when they come back for their calico fitting. It's never right. Calico doesn't look great. It's not the most attractive thing. It's got no details. It's not beautiful fabric. In the mirror, you can feel that, you can see this sort of thing going on. A few pins in, and wow, all of a sudden, even a piece of calico can look amazing when it fits perfectly. Just give yourself a little bit of room, a bit of ease, sit on a chair, make sure it's okay, enough to move in, and you'll be fine. We haven't got to that stage yet, and that's what I'm going to do on the next video. But what I would like you to do in between, some of you can race ahead, I totally get that. Some of you, or the rest of you might want to wait so we work along this together. So I'm not going to go ahead. I'm going to get back together again next Friday, and we'll go to calico. We'll be at calico stage. So I want you to take your measurements, please. Use that chart. I want you to decide on your pattern size. Make anything obvious that's bigger than what we've talked about on the pattern. For example, if you've measured these 9 inches for your hips, and then you have a much bigger thigh area, let's say, so you know you're going to be bigger than the pattern, or even if you don't know, check it. You might as well have that information, and just add on the sides. Sometimes it's just great to have a few inches. Often with clients, I add a huge seam allowance down the back. They can't see what's going on, but it gives me something to play with, to be able to pull it around them to feel good. And so what they see in the mirror is making them feel excited about the next stage. It's then down to me to work out what to do next. Don't worry that I'm pulling all this to the back. You know, it might be needed equally around the body, but I can tell that by looking at them. The side seams need to be at the side, and all these horizontal lines need to be in the right place. We don't know till we get there. So what I suggest you do, decide on your pattern size, cut out your calico, draw on your lines for your waist, for your bust and for your hips. Don't do any fancy changes. Some of you already know about adjusting for making your bust bigger, for sloping shoulders, forward shoulder, for your hips, blah blah blah. We're not doing that yet. I just want you to get used to knowing where you fit in to standard patterns with some small alterations. I'd like you to cut that into calico and make it up, and we will then talk about what we're going to do next week. So next week I'm also going to wear a calico. I know what my alterations are, but I'm going to leave them out, and I'm going to cut this to a standard size 10 and show you how I'm going to pin it around me to suit better my shoulders, my bust, my hips, etc. I'll talk about the length, taking in the sleeves, just as I would work with a client. So I'm really hoping that gives you something to work towards and you're excited about making the next stage. If there's any problems, obviously please message me. I would like you to just get stuck in and have a go. Don't be, unless you're really stuck, don't be hesitant, just go for it, because I want your brain to be thinking, sorry if that sounds condescending, I'm sure you know exactly what you're doing, but I want you to be thinking this through, because when it works at the end, you'll feel so good about what you've achieved, and that will be lodged in here for every time. You won't be, all of a sudden, it's like driving. I remember being so nervous when I was a late driver. I was like this 10 miles an hour. Then all of a sudden you get cocky and you're down the motorway and off shopping and whatever it takes to feel good. So I want you to feel like that about fitting whatever the design that comes your way. Okay, I hope I have mentioned everything. To be honest, I'm sure I've forgotten something because my brain is racing ahead of what do we do next. But if I think of anything, I'll post it up, and if you think of anything, get back in touch with me. It's been fantastic talking to you. I'm so pleased we've got to this stage, and I am so excited about getting over this hurdle of the nerves and what we're going to do next. It's going to be fantastic. Okay, have a fabulous weekend, everyone. You take care. All the best. Bye. I'm still here.